My humble respect to Guru Mahan, Guru Piran Sangran, Guru Piran Nyo, fellow Nyanis. It's been a while since I met you all. I think it's more than 2 weeks. And it's good to be back, rejuvenated and, excited about, the year end. We had a week of celebration of Christmas, and now we are going into New Year's. So today I will going to continue chapter 26 of Mahan's teachings, and I'll talk about thoughts and dreams and some of the things that you have already seen in previous, satsangs. Satsangs. So what we will cover today is actually go a little bit more deeper in terms of the teachings, and there's two parts. First part is actually trying to understand how do we nurture, good thoughts and the impact on our lives. And then I want to step back and reflect back 2023. What has achieved, what were the high points, what were the challenges, and how do we move forward with the new year coming. So this is what I want to cover today. Continuing from where I left off, in the last discussion, I spoke about thoughts, how thoughts are generated, how we nurture thoughts, and how it has an impact in our lives. And I want to focus, a lot of this we have covered, but I want to recap. How do we nurture good thoughts? Because Mahan speaks about how thoughts shape our lives. And throughout the satsangs, I've been speaking about, discovering our own spiritual compass. And I think all of you all are familiar with this picture of the spiritual compass. Oftentimes people ask, what's the purpose of my life? Or what's the purpose of life? And I always say that the purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. So all of us have value. And we need to be able to discover the value of our lives and live in the best possible way. But what guides us to that value that is inherent in us, and how do we create that value? I always ask this concept, this idea of what's the return on value of my life to myself, my family, my friends, the community I live in, my gurus, I'm in the research profession. What's the value of my work to the research community, policymakers, and the broader society? So when we, look, discover because they speak about, our own state of term that is in us, whatever we call that, consciousness or raw or chi or whatever it is, but it's something that is animating our lives. And I think the purpose of our life is to discover that. And the moment we are able to catch that wind, then you see, like a sailboat, our life will chart its own trajectory. So this requires a fair bit of effort to be able to nurture this thought, the thoughts that we want to shape our lives. It requires good understanding of some of the religious teachings, as that's why Mahan said that stay in your own religion and attain mukti, not just from a ritualistic perspective, but also from an introspective perspective. So from the achara to vichara, we have to transition. And that's pursuit, the spiritual pursuit, that experiential part of the divinity. We speak a lot about divinity, the divine qualities. This is what God is. But the whole idea of God, and we know that when we are when our thoughts are divine or when the thoughts are not. When our speech is divine or when it's not, or when our actions is divine or when it's not. But that requires being truthful in the sense that we have to have a kind of a logical, systematic, a scientific approach to this discovery. And, that's why Mahans and all the other great saints and sages thinkers use logic and reason and a kind of an evidence-based approach. And that's what the spiritual compass is. But when we are in the pursuit of the spiritual compass and discovering it, it doesn't come automatically for people because there are conditioning, over the years that we go through of this material world. So the gravity of materiality is so strong that our personality becomes very material. And being material, when the personality is material, like all other material things, it is transitory, it's fleeting, it's finite, and at times that, we have great things that we want to achieve, but we can't do it with this finite mindset. We get disappointed, we get, disillusioned. Sometimes in the extreme cases, people go into depression. So Mahan and great saints, have taught us how to nurture these thoughts, inspirational thoughts, by discovering our spiritual compass through introspection, contemplation, reflection, meditation. But that requires, 7 steps to be able to live a life of a Paranjoti. Paranjoti means an enlightened lifestyle, right? And the most important thing is actually practice. Practice introspection, contemplation, reflection, meditation. This is really important, right? I can't emphasize enough that you need to allocate time every day for this. We have time for many things, but oftentimes people do not allocate time for this. Number 2 is that actually we need to be able to search the purpose that we are here. And the most important thing is that nature has not given everybody everything, but nature has given all of us something. And the whole idea of, you may be good in cooking, you may be good in poetry, you may be good in mathematics, you may be good in financial management, you may be good in something, right? So we need to spend time to discover what is it that we are really good and pursue that really well. And that would start shaping the meaning and purpose of our lives. So that purpose, living a purposeful life is critical, having that mindset. The third important thing is having passion for, a zest for living, learning, enriching, and enlightening our whole life. We are responsible for enlightening ourselves. I always say that, we are chief enlightenment officers of our own lives, CEO. Right? But if we can't enlighten ourselves, forget about it. We can't enlighten anybody else. If we are not a CEO of our lives, we will not be able to be a CEO of our family and our organization. So chief enlightenment officer, that enlightenment, if you are not enlightened, you will not have the executive power to execute things in an efficient way. So this is where that CEO defines the chief executive officer. So again, we see that action for living to discover that enlightened substratum in all of us. But all this doesn't come immediately, instantaneously. It requires a fair bit of patience. This is another virtue that is really important. Calm, cool, unperturbed, not be agitated. See, when we start complaining, we start blaming other people, we see that we lose this coolness, right? We become perturbed by everything. So Mahan and other great saints say, look, you've got to cultivate this, calm, cool, it's okay, let things pass. Sometimes it can be challenging. And this is where the 5th quality is very important, perseverance. We've got to be steadfast in the attainment of our own goals, which is actually not to let anything disturb our own peace, happiness, and joy. We are responsible for it. Nobody else is. Nothing outside can give us that. But even if it gives us, it's only temporary. but that unconditional, everlasting joy and happiness comes with this push towards persevering, this goal of living an enlightened life. And also sometimes, you lose stamina, sometimes the body is weak, sometimes the mind is tired. And this is where the sixth quality of persistence is really important. That endurance, building that mental stamina relentlessly every morning, wake up, do your meditation, do your introspection, do your reflection, do your research, right, to discover who you are, and then you do everything else. So this is the persistence that is really important. And the last, quality is actually positivity. We always have to see things in, we have to have a bright outlook on life. Even in the most challenging circumstances, sometimes challenges come, but use that as a foundation for learning, discovery, and so on. And you see that when you're positive, even the most challenging moments, the scars become stars. The impossible becomes impossible. And the precious become treasures that builds us. That's what the life of a Paranjoti is. That's what a life of a, enlightened person is. And when you do that, we actually, nurture the qualities of, a more universal personality. And this is where you see that you're able to, nurture this. When you nurture these values, we nurture the 10 capitals of life, as I mentioned in my previous satsangs. And you'll see later on in the next few satsangs, I'll show how Mahan, by building this, how his lifestyle, how, in his chapter 26, he speaks about how even during the most challenging moments, he had that resolve and the determination to succeed, in terms of discovering the art of self-realization, living an enlightened life. I'll come to that in the next week or two. But today I want to cover the fundamentals of how do we nurture this thoughts. So what does that mean? So when we have that spiritual compass, we see that actually we nurture these smart qualities. What does that mean? When we do this, we start not focusing on the external world, but we start focusing on the internal. And that internal enables us to connect to that divine force that powers everything else. So we see when I mean smart, what it means is that we become seamlessly integrated and connected with the divine force that is, part of the fabric of, existence itself. It's weaved through everything in the cosmos, right? This substratum that is powering us is weaved through, the beginning of time, our universe, every particle, every atom, every molecule, everything. So when we introspect, contemplate, reflect, and meditate, we see that connection takes place. We are in a connected state. And that's what we mean by smart. The first S is actually seamlessly integrated. And that's what generates that, oneness, that universal mindset, that we give away the pettiness and so on. The next aspect is actually moral. We become more ethical, more disciplined in our, our approach to life. We don't get too high or too low. We live a principled life. Wake up in the morning, you do this. So it becomes like a step-by-step of following that pursuit, that relentlessly to discover the truth. And when we do that, actually, we attain that awareness of that self. There's something present that is weaving through everything in the cosmos, including ourselves. And that self, we start discovering not as a manifestation of a material identity, but of a spiritual identity. And this is what, if you read all the scriptures, they talk about it, but Mahan actually shows a way how to tap into this universal force within us. We become more responsive. We become more responsible, and we become more, sensitive to the things around us because there's interconnection, right? So we're able to then, respond quickly to things that are happening around us. There are times that even some things before us is going to happen, we are aware of it. We're able to forecast and foresight where, or what, or how things are going to pan out. So mind becomes, like fully integrated, and when it is able to read the signs and the signals and work out, map out all the possibilities and potentialities, and for us to choose the best outcome. When that happens, we see that, we're able to now make very good decisions or very informed decisions to transform our lives. And you see that we become more transformative. There's continuous evolution. It is not going back to, the mundane, complaining, we become more transformative, we become more universal, and we become more and more stronger mentally, spiritually, intellectually. And that's what Mahan and other great saints speak about. How do we build the mindset that nurtures really smart thoughts, smart words? We choose our words very carefully. We're able to put things together very nicely, like a poetry, when we write or when we speak, right? The knowledge bank, starts expanding. And we see that we're able to not only create better return on value for ourselves, but the others. We're able to transform other people's lives too. And this is what the Mahans and the great saints, and the great scientists and the great thinkers did. So this is an evolution that takes place in the mind, right? That nurtures these thoughts and aspirations and the dreams. That's one part. But as we evolve, something very interesting happens that, we become more and more smarter, right? One is smart, but there's a continuous evolution. Smart is static, right? Yes. But there's an evolution. We are continuously learning, expanding, becoming more and more universal. That's the word that reflects that is smarter. We have a growth mindset. There's a continuous evolution. And we see that seamless, integrated, moral, we become more agile. The agility is there because of the self. We have that greater, stamina to be able to withstand whatever challenges. The responsive, transformative. The next part is that we become enlightened. Every step we become more informed, more understanding. We become more and more enlightened. Of the circuit, as I said earlier, we're able to map out, all the possibilities and potentialities. And we see in our own lives, we're able to then, okay, there's a challenge coming, let's prepare for it. It's like a big storm is coming, okay, let's prepare for the storm, right? So we build resilience because you can pick up signals. You're more perceptive, you're more responsive, and you're able to pick up. And that's what happens, when the mind is very focused, the mind is concentrated, it is able to pick up signals, subtle signals that others would not be able to pick up. And you build a resilience against these changes. And this is something that is very important. And you see the later evolution is critical. So being smart is one thing. As we continuously do this, we become more enlightened and more resilient, right? So we see that we think our mind becomes more stronger. The kind of words and the inspirations that we permeate, builds us, gives us confidence, but also gives people around us confidence. And we see that, that's what a growth mindset is. Failure is used as an opportunity to grow. I can learn from everything, right? Learn from everyone, from the child right up to, a scientist. And you see that, you like to try different things. You try new things. Yes, you don't get caught up in your comfort zone. You're always expanding, doing new things. So here we see that, there's an evolution that starts off with being smart, and then you become more smarter. And the next state of evolution is really important, which is actually we become the smartest in all our stages of development. We see that the enlightened, we become more spiritually enriched, because that connection, that that being one, as we do this in a conscious way, in a mindful way, we see that we become spiritually integrated and connected. And this is what Swamiji says, that Swamiji is meditation, meditation is Swamiji, right? It's not just sitting down and meditating and being connected. You're continuously powered, continuously connected. And you see that you achieve that transcendentality, that beautiful word that, we are there, but we are not impacted by it. We are continuously learning, evolving. And that's what we see that, in throughout the I God book, Swamiji tries to explain this. If you read many of the other scriptures, I'm covering some of the scriptures in the Klang Center, and we see that this evolution of being smarter, continuously evolving, learning, having that growth mindset, and finally being the smartest in terms of our own reality because of the transcendentality quality. So we see this evolution of how do we nurture that thought, that the mindset that gives us that really wonderful, inspirational life that we live. Though our life is finite, while living in that finite life, we experience infiniteness. Though our body is mortal, we experience that immortality. Though our life is sometimes fleeting and transitory, there is a kind of an eternality that we experience. Though our life is impermanent, continuously changing, there is a sense of permanence. And this is what, and that permanence, that, transcendentality quality actually gives us that, helps us experience the substratum that is unchanging. When we are anchored on that, everything that is changing, we have greater appreciation. So this is what in this essence of Mahan's teachings that I got. Mahan, of course, documents in this chapter all his experiences of how he experienced the different thoughts. Because of his thoughts, he met his guru. Even before physically meeting his guru, he has experienced that guru. Many events before it took place, he experienced it. And it's not surprising, because now you're connected. When you're connected, you transcend space and time. And when you transcend space and time, the human life or the material world, time is linear. But in the spiritual realms, time is non-linear. Time is actually transcendental to linearity. So when Mahans and great saints get into that space, you see that, the past, present, and the future, or, all are at that one time, or at that one moment. So you see that it's like all, squished together, and you see that past, present, and future all one. But when you open it up, you see that the linearity is there. That is why when we reflect back, why Mahans and great saints and people who are connected can say, yes, I've been here, even though physically I've not been here. Well, I've seen that person, because even physically you have not come into contact with that person. So yeah, I recognize that because it was a spiritual connection. So throughout the book, Mahan documents that I myself have experienced, that I've been to places, physically I've not been there, but I know I've been here before. What has been here? That's because the spirit is everywhere, connected. So as we start practicing this, we start actually, before we have no control over this. Occasionally it happens and we don't know why. But as we put this to practice, we actually can understand it. We become aware of it. We're able to then utilize this effectively to chart a beautiful life that we want to live. So this is what I experienced reading Mahan's book. In the early phase, I did not understand. But as I was going through this journey for more than 40 over years, things started to become more clearer. So I want to know, so this is the first part that I want to cover, right? And given that we are at the end of the year, it is always good to take stock of where our life journey is heading, right? And we just celebrated Christmas, and we reflected on the life of Jesus and his contribution to humanity. The same thing, whenever Mahan's birthday or Samadhi Day or Guru Sangaran's birthday or Samadhi Day comes, we always reflect on their life. But I think it's always very important when the year end comes for us to reflect back how the year has been. What is it that worked really well? What were the challenges? And what were the inspirational moments and why those inspirational moments took place? Why uh, and the challenges, and how do we overcome the challenges or did not overcome those challenges? It's always good to take stock because it is related to the topic that we are covering, the state of our mind, right? And the more universal our mindset, we see these events in our lives in a different light. So let me just take you through how I see this journey that we are going through. Then maybe we can have a discussion on your perspective of life, and it'll be really good to hear your views too. So let's reflect back. So, okay, we have another 2.5 days left for 2023, and saying goodbye. As I said, time is linear, at least in this world, the material world that we live. So we cannot revisit back what we have experienced, but at least let's reflect back. In that reflection, I realized something which is very, for me, it shapes the way I live. Time on earth is linear. And as we say goodbye to a particular year, I know the time for my material body and my material personality on this earth is getting shorter, right? So if I live up to 80 years old, I probably have another 20 years. And next year comes, I'll have 19 years. So I know that because time is linear for this material universe and material world and for my material body, my material personality has less 1 year. So in economics, we have a concept called when something is scarcer, that means less, it means it has to have greater meaning and value. So which means that whatever that is left of my life, I need to be able to create better value than my previous years. So as I say goodbye to 2023, I want to reflect back, was 2023 much more greater value that I had, this life had, compared to 2022? And this is something that moving forward in 2024 will chart how we live in 2024. So we take stock of what we achieved, what are the things that we did not achieve, what were the challenges, and how do we move forward? And that is in line with the discussion that we had earlier. How do we nurture that personality that transforms the scars into stars and impossible into I'm possible, so that the next year I create greater value and impact? So value comes with impact. So I want to be able to have greater impact in not just my life, but that of my family, friends, and the greater community. So saying goodbye, I want to be able to see, have I created value by the previous years? Wider reach, not just, me, myself, but having a broader impact on others, right? And trying to help others, cope with challenges and, help others, also live an enlightened life. So has my life become more, do I have a wider reach, more richness? Do I bring greater richness in my own life and that of my family and others that, cross my path? And this is something that Mahans and great saints reflect. Mahan has very detailed diary of all his experiences, he documents, and I did not understand why he did this. But now when I reflect back, actually for him to map his own spiritual trajectory. Am I more happier, right, compared to the previous years, right? Have I, and this is something that all of us need to ask, what is it that makes us happy? Is it materiality? What is it, And then you see that at the core, we all are searching for meaning and purpose of life. Now, have I lived a more enlightened life? That means more informed. Do I know things better? Do I understand things better? Do I understand my own life better? Right? And this is what the reflection is. And if we do that, am I more smarter? Do I have a more smarter life? As I said earlier, smarter, seamlessly integrated, moral, all those things that. So we see that, am I, transitioning? Am I smart and becoming more smarter in understanding my own life journey and the impact that I have on others? So this is kind of reflection back, and I hope all of you all would have your own reflection. It'll be good to hear next week what you think that has worked well for you. So what were the challenges, right? So a few challenges that, for me personally, that shaped 2023. Of course, COVID-19 played a key role over the last 2-3 years, and we lost many people. I lost many, family and friends and people, and great artists and people that I look up to, I listen to. Losing them, there was a missing. We miss them, and of course there are people who are sick. There are also, finding it hard to cope with this. And even now, more recently, we see that COVID cases are going up. So these 2023 has been challenging on that front. We also saw that poverty and sufferings also still persist. I meet a lot of people that are finding it hard to sustain themselves, put their children through school, putting food on the table. So there are sufferings, and we cannot be, we cannot, neglect this, and we cannot have a blind spot on this. As we become more and more seamlessly integrated, we see that we become more and more sensitive to this, and this is part of that spiritual journey. The other aspect that impacted, for me, 2023 is actually the prolonged war in Ukraine. We see the news, we see the papers, children dying, bombing, and sometimes you reflect back. Humanity has gone back in time, in terms of the way we, address conflicts. So the Ukraine war is still continuing. We see a lot of sufferings. We see it in the media. It's sometimes quite depressing when we see people, innocent people dying. And this is further kind of exacerbated with the war in the Middle East, where every day we see them in the news, children killed, innocent people killed. So it is, as a human being that is continuously, becoming more and more connected to everything, we see that the war in the Middle East does have an impact on the psychological state of many people. So again, we see that how do we reconcile this? How do we overcome these challenges? What is it that we can do to elevate some of those things? We may not be able to solve all the problems of the world, but we can solve some things in a more smaller way, right? At least, we can't do big things in a big way, but we can do small things in a big way. So here are some of the challenges that I personally experienced while, the spiritual journey helped, reconcile, understand, and, be able to accept this. But again, what is it that we can do to make a difference? 2023 also had high and inspirational points of, which is, we saw some semblance of recovery from COVID-19. So opening up of travel, we were not restricted. We also saw an increased reach of Mahan's teaching. So I'm very fortunate that we have a good team that has helped Mahan's teachings to go out. We have close to about 125, 126 YouTube clips that are, and I get a lot of inquiries and queries on Mahan's teachings. And we have a lot of now people that come out from the region to get initiation and learn about Mahan's teachings. The other key highlight is commencing of the Bhagavad Gita classes. There was an interest this year to commence the Bhagavad Gita classes. So we're going strong. We are now in chapter 13, and we reckon that we'll probably finish it in March. That means 12 months to cover the 18 chapters. So it's quite, exciting for me to step into Sri Krishna's shoes and explain the 18 chapters of transformation of the human mind. So again, it's another important key highlight for me and the Sabe. This year also gave me a little bit more time for research, time to do the introspection, contemplation, reflection, meditation, and service. Right. So starting to see, a lot more deep thoughts on how we can use the research of Mahan's teachings and the teachings of the scriptures in my own scientific work, and also the work with policymakers and the community. So that has been a good highlight, and do more impactful research. So, had some good publications, scientific work, and also presentations around the globe. More recently on how nuclear technology is very important to help humanity. Other aspect is that I had 3 books that I wanted to produce this year, but given that it is a busy year, at least we produced 1 book, The Universal Adapter, which has got good reviews from people. So I'm hoping that I'll have a little bit more time to complete another 2 or 3 more books. That's the plan for 2024. The other aspect is that I think with the support of the Sabe, we were able to do a fair bit of community service, serving the poor with food bank and, providing them with, saris and other goodies during Deepavali. And we now have a sustainable food bank initiative led by, the Klang Center. We hope that will be expanded to other centers. And these are some of them. There are so many, but one of the highlights of this year for me personally is going on a spiritual sabbatical for 10 days, spiritual pilgrimage to my ancestral homeland to explore new things. And the reason why is that in my father's travel, when he was traveling, probably slightly younger than me, or maybe around my age now, Mahan told him to visit certain places to discover certain things, and I was able to map that, and did a lot of research and discovered many things of both Mahan's teachings. So it was quite a fantastic spiritual sabbatical for me. I went prepared with my family members, my wife, my sister, and husband, and a good friend of mine from Canada. So we had some fantastic, fantastic learning experience that I hope to share in the future YouTube clips. But I shared that in the Klang Center, in the KL Center. And I'm also writing this up, although my writing is rather slow because since coming back, I've been very busy. But yes, I will be writing all the experiences that I had while I was in India. So this is reflecting back 2023, and I'm penning down what the plans are for 2024, and probably this is the last satsang that we're having before the New Year celebration on New Year's. So next week when I meet you, we will be in 2024. So I'll talk about some of the plans that we have, personal plans, and also the plans for the Sabe on where we want to go with this spiritual journey. So this is, I'd like to hear your perspective of 2023. I hope all of you will sit down, pen down, in the same way, some of the key highlights, key challenges, what are the key, actions that you'll take to make your life more meaningful, more impactful. Sadosham, thank you very much.